This week's Weekly Demon is one that I've actually already completed. However, I completed it at like 3 AM, so I couldn't really record me talking. That being said, I still have the footage if you'd like to see it, so we'll open with that. Alright, I want to open by talking about how you learn this level, to give you an idea of whether this is the kind of level you might want to play if you are, someone who wants to do some entry-level demons. This whole beginning part, there's not a lot to say, because it's mostly just, straight-up cube gameplay. There's not a lot of tricks to this, it's just timings. Then none of them are particularly brutal timings, but there's a lot of timings that are just normal tough. And while that might not sound very intimidating, there's so many of them that you'll be surprised, this level gets very consistent, but surprisingly, this beginning, even though it's not really that daunting, still ends up being one of the largest sections where you die. Just because there's a lot of timings that, sure, they aren't that hard to get right once, but to get them right every time, it's surprisingly easy to mess it up just a little. I don't think there's anything particular I really want to say here. You just jump the exact path you're probably thinking to jump here. You can go onto that lily pad but for a secret message, but it's extremely difficult to do it and survive. This dash orb just pushes the log like that. You're fine, just click and hold. Now, I will say, important for me to note, these last few orbs are some of the only parts that do get a little bit less self-explanatory here. Once we get into this cube, thankfully you can hit that green orb whenever you want. And as I say, you just click and hold on the dash orb. But this black orb, that's the first sign of danger here. So this black orb is not the kind of thing that's probably going to kill you the first time, but when revisiting this part, you'll be surprised how many times you die to this black orb. And the reason why is that. Now obviously it's not too hard to avoid this, you just jump later, and you hit the orb midway through rather than buffering it. But obviously most people, you're going to subconsciously buffer it whenever you're not super focusing on this bit because you've done it a million times. And especially if you happen to jump early, it will get you killed a lot. Hell, if you're quick enough, yeah, even if you jump late, if you go too quick, you can get a bit too jittery, you can still die. So you got to watch out for that. Another thing as well is these purple orbs. They are actually surprisingly tough themselves. That being said, those are more learny. I think once you get the timing in your head, it's not so bad. But yeah, you definitely can't buffer those. You will get hit by the spike from the top, so you've got to do those pretty low. As for those last two orbs there, I believe you can't die by buffering them, but you might get a weird trajectory if you buffer the purple ones. I would generally still try to make sure you get a late timing there so that you get a better trajectory. Now this section is surprisingly forgiving. I love going under the war wheel there. All of this so far is just orbs. Up until this spider, you're literally just clicking orbs, nothing else. That's all you're doing. You don't jump or anything like that, just click orbs. And then even the spider, it's 1, 2, 3. Now, after the spider is the first bit we actually have to worry about jumping. Even then, I think this is the only part where you jump as the cube here. Oh, that was... I've never died like that before. So if we get back here, 1, 2, 3, you got to jump as soon as you come out of that portal, and then I must admit it is a little off sync because there's 3 beats, but then there's 4 inputs. But still, it feels very good to do that. Now, this ship is going to be the part that I want to probably put the most focus on in this section. When I played this level, I got about this far without practice mode. And then I saw this ship and went, alright, I'm going to have to use practice mode. Now, don't get me wrong, I did a lot of practicing, but it was worth it. Because while, I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't more practicing than playing normal mode, but it was a lot of practicing, maybe like a 1/3 practice, 2/3 normal mode split. And it really paid off, because as daunting as some of these upcoming bits were to learn, once I learned them, I got all the way from 45-ish here to 92% on my very next attempt in normal mode. That is how much progress I made just by getting some practice on this, because so many of these following parts, almost every part of the level from here on out that looks scary is a part that once you get it, you just get it. There is like one brief section that is still tough even once you learn it, and that's about it. So yeah, let me show you. So this section is just 3 clicks. Now, even still, obviously you've got to learn how to time it and when to let go, but it's about the same hold duration and it's about the same spacing for each click. And what makes it even easier is I found this a lot tougher when I couldn't tell what to sync this to, because I kept dying midway through and not hearing the song kind of continue here. So I didn't realise that these clicks were synced to the little boom, in the back instead of the main synth or the drums. So once you know that it's the do, 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 it's nice and easy. Just focus on that. Click, click, click. Now, even still, there is still something that might happen occasionally if you hold just a little too long. You see, I can't make the mistake on purpose. If you hold just a little too long or just generally come into this a little bit weird, you can get this weird thing where you can't actually let go of the mouse before you enter the ball, and you actually switch gravity too early, which doesn't kill you or anything, because you're supposed to switch gravity anyway, but it might mess you up because of the fact that you're expecting to have to click 3 times in the ball, but one of your clicks from the ship carries over, and then that can screw up all of your like muscle memory and make it so that if you do 3 clicks, you die. Which is obviously a little bit rough. Not to mention, if you switch gravity especially early, you can just die because you did it too early. So, yeah. That being said, if you get the right trajectory by holding for the appropriate amount of time, it's the same every time. Just 3 clicks in the ball, and the cube, you don't even do anything. You just go into the UFO. And the UFO itself is still super self-explanatory. It is just click, 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 click. Just like that. It's 3 jumps, same spacing once again, and it syncs with the music, and then you hit all 3 of those orbs. The only part about this UFO that can be a little bit tough to learn at first is that, to be honest, these the first blue orb here, it can be sometimes a little awkward to try and catch it. Sometimes when you're not used to the timings, it can be really easy to do that. Which, to be fair, you can still save yourself there if you're quick, like you probably saw there. Let me see. It's awkward to do it on purpose, like I say. So, like, 1, 2, 3, and then screw it up on purpose and see if I can save it. Yeah, it's a bit hard to react to that live, but you can save it even if you screw it up. Now I want to do it, though. Yeah, you can save it like that. If you, yeah, as I say, tough to react, easy to just get it right in the first place. But yeah. Now here's the robot part, where for some reason every single time I got here on autopilot I would think I would have to drop, even though there's clearly nowhere to drop to. But for some reason I always think I have to drop here. You just do a full jump, 2 little jumps, and then a big jump into those 2 orbs. Now I say that as if that's super easy. It's generally pretty easy, but obviously those small jumps can be the problem there. First of all, just because generally small jumps, you've got to be able to click and release very quickly here. I mean, it's not that strict to be fair, but the longer that you leave it, the more it'll make the next input harder. Like, you actually have quite a bit of leeway to do a bigger jump than you probably should here and still not die. It just means your next input will be harder. But you do those tiny jumps. The main thing that will actually probably catch you out is that the 3rd jump, I know it sounds really simple, but because it looks the exact same as the 2 tiny ones, it's easy to think that's a tiny jump as well when it isn't. Which obviously you've got to keep in mind that tiny jump, that it's 2 tiny jumps, and then a big jump after that. not 3 tiny jumps just because there's 3 logs, you know. Now, I didn't mean to just beat the rest of the level, but like... Okay, I've got to die on purpose now, because I've got to make sure I don't... Yeah, okay, right. That makes my point really well, though. I didn't talk at all about the ship that goes into this, because it's literally just a straight fly with loads of leeway. Sure, it's a weird vertical format, but the gameplay's the exact same. Don't panic at all. Literally just click gradually and you'll get there. Going into this, you can buffer all these orbs, so it's not so bad. Now, the swing copter is, of course, always the scary part. Everyone sucks at swing copter. I suck especially at swing copter because I left the second 2.2 came out. So, like, swing copter's still brand new to me. Now, I was almost like, oh god, do I have to quit this level now? Do I have to just, like, give up? Because, like, swing. Like, what do I do about the swing copter? Actually, this is surprisingly nice. This seemed really scary at first, because to me, I didn't see at first they lay out a path for you, and so I'm like, oh god, do I have to, like, do some weird, like, spam click, straight fly with it? I know it's got a lot of space, but I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how to set myself up correctly. I don't know how to correct myself. How do I get the trajectory right? And I'm doing stuff like that. It's actually really easy. First of all, I know that you've probably seen it by now, but genuinely I struggled to spot it with how panicked I was in this section at first. There is a very clear trail of sparkles just showing you exactly where to go. So there's no need to agonize over exactly which way you're supposed to go to set yourself up correctly, just follow the trail. Now even that might seem like it's not super helpful, just because this is a really high-speed mini swing copter that is very disorientating. Even, like, you know, if you're not familiar with it, it's very disorientating even if there's a very clear path laid out that seems quite forgiving. But you don't need to worry for 2 reasons. For one, each curve only needs 1 click. Obviously the orbs need their own clicks, but if we're counting the non-orb clicks, there's just 2 of them, 1 on each curve. 1 here, and 1 here. That's all you need, which makes it a lot more digestible. Obviously you still got to learn the timing, but here's where the next trick comes in. I actually do not look at my swing copter during this section. Just generally in Geometry Dash, you probably already do this a little bit if you've been playing for a while, but a lot of people, whether they realize they're doing it or not, don't actually look at where their icon is, they look just a little bit ahead of it. So you know how the icon's about 1/3 of the way through the screen if you're going left and right? I find that oftentimes I'm often looking about 60% of the way across the screen. I don't do it on purpose, I don't consciously tell myself to do that, but I end up looking there. It gives my brain more time to sort of process what's coming at me. So what I do here to get this consistent is to just look at the stream and click when I pass the halfway point of the curve. I don't have to look at my swing, I don't have to worry too much about the timing, I just have to look at that and click it when I feel like we've gone past halfway. Another thing I want to point out is that this is a very forgiving swing copter section. Even if you screw up both dash orbs, it's still possible. So the first one's tougher. You are really supposed to hit the first dash orb because you can see these bounce pads here launch you into your death if you miss it, whereas you go through them harmlessly otherwise. However, even those bounce pads, if you're upside down, you can actually survive them. So watch this. Let's see if I can get the swag route on purpose. I forgot which way I was around, but you can see the beginnings of it there. So you hit it, switch. No, you don't switch. Why do I think I got to switch there? There we go, swag route acquired. In fact, we missed both dash orbs there, but I'll show the second one again, because that one's easier. I missed the second dash orb a lot, actually, by accident, but I just happened to do it. Yeah, you can just fly into the entrance normally if you miss the second dash orb. There's no bounce pads to worry about. So, if you do hit the dash orb, you can probably notice it teleports you to the center in this level to help line you up better. So it's still good to hit it. But if you happen to miss it, there's no need to panic. I'm trying to miss it on purpose now and I can't. But if you do happen to miss it, no need to panic. Because... but if you do happen to miss it, cough cough, no need to panic because you can still salvage it. Now, no joke, the part of the level that will choke you the most is actually this ball that you're about to see, which is hilarious because it's really short and it's really basic, but it's genuinely like the hardest part of the level as far as I'm concerned. One of those reasons why is because of these obnoxious flashes. I'm going to be real with you, this level is generally pretty good, I think, with keeping its visual effects in a sweet spot of cool factor balanced with gameplay actually being readable. This pushes it a little. I find it really hard to see what the hell is going on with those just solid white flashes in my face. So I really find it hard to read where the spikes are here and where the player is with all the flashing going on. And on top of that, even though this is just simple, like, click, 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 it's just 3 clicks. It's also 3 clicks that are relatively tight on the timing. Again, not that tight, but it is a very fast corridor with lots of visual effects making it hard to tell what the timing even is. So, genuinely, I think this is going to be your #1 concentration spot in terms of deaths. It was for me, at least. Well, after the beginning. Most of your runs are going to die here. If you get this past this point, you should be in the clear so long as you don't make any dumb mistakes, because, like that, because this ship is just a bit of a straight fly, and then you hit the green orb and you hold. And then this is just 1 jump and 3 orbs. And then you spam in here, you don't have to spam that fast. Make sure you hit the dash orb. Actually, that's another thing. I need to die on purpose here to demonstrate what I'm about to say. So let me do this just one more time. 1, 2, just 2 jumps in the UFO. So if you don't spam, then that shows up at the end, that sort of lockbox. But just so you know, you don't have to be that aggressive here. Obviously, spam as fast as you can, but like, don't panic about it too much. This level is pretty forgiving about your spam speed. If you're a little bit slow, you should still get it. The main thing to note is that when you get to this part, I really think that you need to make sure that you stop spamming just before the end. It's pretty easy to tell when. Obviously, when you get back to normal size, that's a good cue to, okay, let's stop spamming. And the reason why I say you got to stop spamming is because you are so much more likely to miss that dash orb if you don't give yourself a split second to switch from spam mode into timing mode. I know this seems so simple because this dash orb is so big. Like, it's not a difficult timing, yes, but if you don't even treat it like a timing in the first place, you'll be surprised. Like, I did die by missing this dash orb once. It was only 1 time, but it was because I thought, I can just go into spam mode and just, yeah, there. No, you can't. You will miss the dash orb, so give yourself a second to collect yourself and go, okay, right, and then get ready to click that. Then you just hold it until you're... I actually haven't even checked. I think you do have to let go at the right timing to hit those red orbs. I've just been doing it on... Yeah, okay, you do. I've been doing it without even, like, thinking so far, so I wasn't sure if you had to. But yeah, those are all just buffers. This slow section, it's not easy per se, but it's not that hard, really. It's mostly just one of those ones that gets you on your nerves. There's a couple timing jumps, but that's about it. The only thing to keep in mind is that that's a trick. Don't go down here. So once you get to this point, you got to jump up there. That's about it in terms of things that are likely to get you, except just one more thing. So you're going to see a couple of these jumps here with these 2 small but very separate spikes. This is actually a relatively precise jump. Not insanely precise, but relatively precise. Precise enough that it could kill you. Now, this one in particular is pretty forgiving. This one, you can actually just buffer it. Like, the way you fall here, you can just buffer it, and you will always jump at the perfect time. So that's not so bad. I think the other one is the same there. I had a bit of a delay there just because I was thinking, but I think you can just... Yeah, you can buffer that one too. Now, the thing you've got to watch out for is right at the end. This is the final jump. This one you can't buffer. This one you actually have to time it. Now, again, this isn't the hardest jump in the world. Don't panic. But you might want to brace yourself for it, You might want to remind yourself, okay, here comes the last jump. Gotta leave it late. You've got to leave it late on that one. Give yourself some room. Alright, hopefully you're back now. This is a great level. I really like it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to have some complaints, but just like last time, this is less so, oh, screw this level because this, and more so like, man, this level could be like, wow, chef's kiss if we could change some of these. So, generally speaking, though, I think this level is like very high tier, like, as far as I'm concerned. Like, just like, I'm trying to think of a better word to describe it, but just like, I wouldn't call this quite, one of the legendary levels of all time, but it's not far off, because it's very, very fun, very, like, heavily rewards learning, which, I mean, I know every level really nominally does, but, like, I feel like this one in particular... Why? I just mentally blocked out that orb existed. That was weird of me. Okay, right. Guess that's what happens when I autopilot, but it's okay. We've already beaten it. The pressure's not on as much. Essentially, I feel like this level strikes like a near perfect balance, where it's got this, completely different visual style. It looks really, really good. But most levels that sort of have this visual style that looks very, very different from usual Geometry Dash levels as nice as it is and as impressive as it is, usually it's a bit of a nightmare to sight read. Whereas this level, I think, actually does a really good job of still maintaining the ability to be sight read, considering the amount of decoration going on. But don't get me wrong, I have some gripes at times with the sight readability, but considering the difficulty of making a level to this visual standard without making that mistake, it is impressive that they've done as much as they have in terms of the sight readability with a level that's got this much going on visually. Now, that embarrassing death right there is something that I've done a lot of times, and I genuinely cannot explain to you why. Every time I get into that robot, even though there's clearly nowhere to drop to, for some reason my impulse, my gut feeling always tells me to drop, and I have no idea why. Like, there's not even anything resembling even something approximating anything that isn't just death down there. And for some reason, my brain, whenever I see that part, is just like, yeah, I should just drop here, even though I know you jump. I don't know. Every time I get there, my autopilot brain tells me, oh yeah, drop. You'll be fine. Now, let me see if I can get a little secret while I'm here. Just missed it. So, I got a bit lucky. There was a couple points where I'm replaying this level. I had to redo this beginning a lot. And while autopiloting, sometimes I'd kind of forget which part of the level I'm in, but just kind of be like playing without thinking. And I would drop onto that lily pad over the dash orb, thinking that I was supposed to, and only realizing I shouldn't have done it later. Now, as you just saw there are actually spikes on the lily pad, so if you try to land on it, it should kill you. However, it is actually possible to catch the side of the lily pad and get a secret message and be able to jump off of it and still play the rest of the level, which is really funny because I got that 3 times in a row by accident, there we go, without ever realizing that it was difficult, because I didn't actually notice there were spikes on it before. I kept accidentally doing it just absent-mindedly without even, like, you know, intending to go get the secret or whatever. And considering I got it so many times without dying, I thought it was really easy. I thought it was literally just you drop onto the lily pad, and I'm like, oh my god, wait, there's spikes all over that. How the hell, I don't know why I do that sometimes, how the hell did I not die to that any of my multiple previous times doing that? And now, of course, that I actually want to show it off, of course I got it eventually, but now actually I'm dying to it, as I probably should have been from the beginning, because it's actually, turns out, pretty hard. Now, that being said, you probably had a better chance to read it. I didn't actually get to ever read what the message says, but I could get the gist of it. It seemed like it was something like, you could have just taken the dash orb, you know? It would have been a lot easier. Something like that. But yes. Now, in terms of difficulty, I mean, obviously it's an easy demon. Do I think that's a good rating? Yes. Now, is this the kind of easy demon that I would recommend to players who are getting their footing with easy demons? It's a tough call. Because on one hand, I do still stand by this is very learny in a good way, and that should benefit people who have the dedication but maybe not a lot of the natural talent, quote-unquote, that if you stick with it, you'll be able to do all this, even if like this usually seems above your skill level. But at the same time, it's also just such a disorientating level, like especially if you just struggle with panic. Yeah, you can see it on my face probably. If you struggle with panic, it's pretty bad. You see, I want to recommend it almost still, just because I am amazed by how much most of this level sticks once you learn it, which is so nice. I'm so glad this swing copter is forgiving as well. It looks so nasty, but it's not as bad as it looks. And then the spam here. Okay, I should have this unless I choke. I had an extremely hilarious death. Okay, right, yeah, that was... I don't know... Okay, right, let me explain what just happened there mentally. Somehow that's not as embarrassing as my 92 death. So, when I died at 92, I died by walking into those logs. Not those logs, but like... That log block is reused a few times, that design, and I went into one of those logs and it killed me. Now, it killed me because I went in from the side, but they also do have a couple, like, sneaky glass spikes on the sides of the logs. You can stand on the top of them, but if you hit the sides, there's also some spikes protruding out that are not usually visible. Now, the reason I bring that up is because right there, I looked at the log and for a split second my subconscious brain went, oh wait, yeah, that's hiding spikes, don't touch that. And then I remembered, oh wait, yeah, no, on the sides, the top is fine, what am I doing? Just drop onto the log. Okay, right, well, that's how things like that happen. But somehow that's not even as dumb as my 92 death. My 92 death was also to a log, like I said. And the reason why was because even though I'd already jumped on multiple logs up to this point, for some reason, for a brief moment, I thought to myself, oh, you don't have to jump over the log, that's in the background. And, like, you know, usually you might be like, oh, well, come on, that's an understandable mistake. Some of these levels, it's not super clear what's in the background and what's in the foreground. But, like, nah, to be honest, I did not have an excuse in this, example. It wasn't, like, actually that it was really hard to see the log or whether it was, like, you know, in the foreground or the background or, you know, whatever. Nah, it was just, like, really obviously part of the level, and I just went, yeah, that's just the background. Walked right into it. And, like, I'd already practiced the end, so I already knew that log was there. I don't know why I just blanked. Oh, I got a bit scared there. I've never died by hitting that orb too early, but that did look like it was about to kill me there, but I think it can't, because it's never happened, but it still looked like it was going to for a second there. I'm so glad that most of this cube is just the orbs as well. I feel like this would have been a nightmare to sight read if it wasn't mostly just orbs until you're really in it, and then it's a bit more reasonable to have more than just orbs. Because, like, you know, then you've had some time to adjust. Like, for the entire cube, the first, like, 5 inputs are all orbs, and then you start getting to some sections where you might have to jump. I'm not gonna lie, because I kept saying about how consistent this level is when you learn it, I was kind of hoping I would just relatively easy beat on camera again, but maybe I'm getting a bit cocky. I know you might be saying, oh no, you're playing worse because you're talking, and it might be, but I found that Geometry Dash is actually one of the few games where, like, sometimes it makes me play better to talk. I don't know, sometimes I die because I'm trying to take control so much, rather than just trying to autopilot. And obviously if you're talking, you're kind of forced to autopilot. You see, but that's the thing, on autopilot I drop when I get to the robot, so it's a balance, it's a balanced. But yeah, in terms of like being a level that people who are new to demons can approach, I'm leaning towards saying I recommend it, but I definitely think you know your own strengths. If this level looks terrifying to you, and you give it a go, and you still think it's terrifying, then like you can definitely pass up on it. There are parts of it that definitely feel like they could be tough for someone who isn't used to normal demon, not like playing demon levels. Blech. There are parts of it that feel like they could be pretty brutal, just not even necessarily for the actual gameplay, but just trying to read the screen. As a less confident player, I could see how it could just be too daunting just to simply do that in a level like this. Okay, I'm going to lock in a little here. Saved it. I screwed that up, but I saved it with a weird input. Now I should be good. Don't do anything stupid. Here's the log I just didn't jump over. And I didn't die to the last jump, good. That last jump has never gotten me, but I keep thinking it will, because that's a relatively tight jump. Like, it's not insanely tight, but it's tight enough to make you a little bit nervous at the end of the level. Glad I really got it. More stars. I've never actually checked, but I wonder if that counts as a second demon completion. It probably shouldn't. Well, that was Raging Rappers by Funky Fries. I really liked it, if you couldn't tell.